Monza, you qualified well, and then you had another shock early in the race.
Yes, yeah, I qualified seventh, I think, next to Jackie Stewart, between Stewart and Helm, I think. Was I beside them? Anyway, I was on the same third row. And I was really pissed off, actually, that I was only on the third row, and I go, oh, it should be further up. On reflection, it wasn't bad for your first Grand Prix to be half a second off pole, or whatever it was, relatively. Yes, so the race started, you can imagine that place, there's something, if you're going to start Formula One, or if that's the only race you're going to do in your life, you've got to go to Monza. And I'm sure everybody, or like Monaco in a way, but you know Monza's is something different. It's the high speed, the atmosphere of the autodrome, the history, you know, the oval and all the things that are part of that, and the Tifosi as well. And so the race started, and I mean, I'd done a start at the Gold Cup at Alton Park previously with them, but you know, to start at Monza with everybody there was pretty spectacular. And I guess I had a good start. I've got a photograph of the start, and I had a bit of wheel spin. There's a lot more smoke coming off my tires than the other two, but I was in a hurry to get away. And I carried on, I guess, in that top group of 5 or 6. I didn't lose a position. I was in the top 6 or 7. And as I came down into the Lesmos, I think on lap 6 or 7, suddenly the engine stopped, and that was it. I don't know what it was. So I pulled over, and then I walked around the edge of the track to go through the gate, which is at one of the 2 Lesmos. And I stood by the gate, and I watched the group, and I get behind the fence as the group came around, and there were the 2 Hondas of Richie Ginther and John Surtees, and Chris was in that group as well. I think just those 3 initially.
Chris Amon in the Ferrari.
And Chris was in the Ferrari in 3rd place. And suddenly, as he went by, literally past where I was, suddenly it shot round like that. And he went across the road and went backwards in the guardrail and disappeared into the bushes like that. In my book, going over backwards like that. And I went, oh, bugger. You know, I thought, that's it. Now my teammate dies. I'd had Jimmy 4 months before. And here I am watching my teammate go. And I thought, that's it. And I thought to myself, well, you know, at least I'll be able to tell my son, Justin, at that time, I'll be able to tell Justin, your dad got into Formula One, did his first Grand Prix and quit. But at least I was at Ferrari, and not many could say that. And I'm not very good at the death side of things or injury side of things. And I wanted to get across the track to see how he was or whatever, because in those days you could. And they wouldn't let me get across because all the cars were coming through, albeit under yellow, but fast. And then suddenly Chris walks up and he's sort of dusting all the crap off like this. And I looked at him and said, well, how the hell did that happen? You're upside down when you went. No, he said, well, I landed on my wheels on the other side. When he went down, it sort of spun down. And literally, we went to the factory the next day to check the cars out because we were going to meet Enzo, because you signed your contract on the Sunday if you're invited for lunch. And I was invited for lunch. And we went to the factory, and there was Chris's car. You know, and it wasn't really a monocoque, but there was just up on the stands. There was just a slight kink in the body in front of it by your right knee.
Amazing.
That's the only real damage.
And he'd gone off because there'd been some oil leak.
There was an oil leak.
Yeah.
Chris always said it was from the Surtees, but John, of course, disagrees and said it wasn't from the Surtees. But I think Hondas were more likely to have been puking out oil than the Ferrari on that day. But anyway, whatever it was, he went over the top.